Aloha and chee-hoo! Come on. Those are my words, man. I get fired up about rainbow baseball.
Everybody is ready to get fired up as we welcome in the University of Hawaii head baseball coach, Rich Hill. Coach Rich, what's up, my friend? How are you? How has the offseason been for you so far?
I'm great. I am awesome, and there is no off season, Ku'ulei, right? I mean, it's just transitions.
That's
So
true.
the transitions have been amazing. I mean, just to talk about the upcoming year, I think you just start about with last year and the amazing 37 win season we had, and finished in the season 18-2 and leading the country in earned run average, with Coach Zuniga and the boys. So, among other things, including the longest home winning streak active right now in the country. Just so many things that our guys were able to accomplish last year, which really gives us, kind of a springboard and a ton of confidence into this year.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into a ton of stuff, a little bit
Yeah.
to go back to last season and look ahead to this season. But first, got to start off with this. We know it actually went this past season, the one and only Eddie Aikau Big Wave Invitational. In case anybody missed our chat with you before, we know you are a surfer yourself and you love to see all of the surfers go at it. But how exciting was that a few weeks ago just to one, when you already like saw that, hey, this is gonna go this year, and then when it actually happened, the conditions were perfect. It was awesome. Landon McNamara, 50-point perfect ride. I mean, I'm getting chicken skin just talking about it all over again. But as a surfing guy that loves the ocean, I mean, how was that like for you this year to kind of, and were you able to watch it all day, or how much of it did you get to watch?
Well, yeah, I mean, I watched a ton of it, and I think that there's many facets to this, right? And the thing just organically that comes up in my mind is the buzz around the eddy, when it was green lighted. Everywhere you went, no matter what side of the island, I live in Kailua, and over there you can hear people talking about it in the grocery store, at the bank, wherever, at the gas station. And then over here, on Townside, and of course the North Shore, and the preparations and the news and the social media. And that's just one of the really cool things about living in Hawaii is, just people are so in tune with the ocean, and surfing is just a huge part of it. And it's the birthplace of surfing, so there's so much pride. And I love that. I also love the fact, Eddie Aikau, uh, just this iconic waterman, right? And his story is just told, whenever they run it, you hear his name everywhere, and then you get to hear his story and how many rescues, and I know he's a great surfer, right? And he's very talented and skilled, but it just goes beyond that, what he did, right? It is as far as being a lifeguard, and I look at those guys and gals differently. It's just, especially up there on the North Shore on the west side, I mean, they're just putting their lives on the line. And, he was a lifeguard saving people when they didn't have, the technology that they have now, So for him to kind of blaze the trail and be at Waimea Bay and save people's lives and then be a fixture in the community, he really brought surfers together, from all over the world, in a time, when there was a lot of strife, and between surfers, and he was a very calming force. So, hey, anyway, I can go on and on about him, but you get to hear his name, and that's very special. And then the event itself, it's just like full send from all of those athletes and the waves. I mean, seeing it on TV is one thing, but when you're up there, you know, watching it in person, it's kind of like just mind blowing. And then when you're out in the water, like I've been, not in that type of surf, but half that size even, I mean, it's just that fear gene, that's in all of us, thank God. I mean, it's how we're built, comes in. And it's just amazing what they're able to do. It's the Super Bowl of surfing. It's just an incredible event. 50,000 people. It's worldwide. People are texting me from all over the continent. So what an amazing event.
And I don't think I've ever asked you this. And like I said, in case anybody missed it, Coach Rich Hill is, yes, he's an awesome baseball coach, but in his downtime, he was very much going surfing and charging pretty big waves. I remember you telling us that now, if you need to put on the helmet and the surfing vest, that you probably that's kind of the where you draw the line in terms of how big the waves are that you will rush. But anyways, I don't think I've asked you this when you came and joined us in studio, though. Do you have a favorite big wave surfer by any chance?
You know, not really. I like to observe, and in my own, surfing journey, I'm really trying to stretch my edge, and stretch my limits, see how good of a surfer I can be, in every facet, really how good of a waterman I can be. Um, so it's very challenging for me, but I like to watch certain people surf. Luke Shepardson is a guy that I have a chance to be out there with sometime. He would never know who I was or anything, but I like to observe, where these guys sit in the lineup, and after a big set, where do they go and how do they move? But just watching the grace, and the athleticism of a guy like that is pretty amazing. I was out there the other day next to John Florence, who to me that's the best guy maybe ever. Watching him surf this big Sunset Beach on a 6'2" and do the things, it's almost like he's snowboarding. There's just no transition and there's no stop start. Um, and then somebody like Emily Erickson, who's just sends it, and is just so um, graceful, but just at the same time just so athletic. So some of those guys and women, I have so much respect for. Um, that it's fun. I have a funny story about John. That we were out there, and this is a month ago or a couple of months ago, and I kind of paddled up next to him. I said, "Hey, man, congratulations on the world championship. I'm on the baseball coach at UH, and we really want you to throw out the first pitch, opening series." And before I could even get out of my mouth, he goes, "No way! I'd be way too nervous." I'm like, "Dude, you just almost won a gold medal. You're trying." He's like, and then he got to paddle away, and I was like, "Well, all right, maybe next time." But
Oh, we got to get him to throw
I
out the
know
first.
it's pretty funny
Oh,
though. He would be nervous
yeah.
throwing out the first pitch, but a 30-foot face and a 60-foot face at YMA, it's like, yeah, no problem.
All right. If anyone listening knows John Florence, tell him no scat him, go get him. Throw out the first pitch at a UH baseball game, and he's more than welcome. As we are joined by UH baseball head coach Rich Hill. All right. I know there's a lot of baseball fans listening that maybe aren't surfing fans, so we got to get into the baseball. They're waiting for us to get to
Yeah,
baseball.
yeah.
So let's get into it. As you mentioned earlier, 2024 was the best season for the baseball since joining the Big West in 2012 and the best season in 18 years. In fact, again, going 37-16 overall, 20-10 in Big West play. Ended the season winning 18 of the last 20 games. And like you said, as still have the 11 game home game, win streak going, and hoping to keep that going in your season opener at home on Friday, February 14th against Marshall to open up the season. So just I guess initially, how has the offseason been, and maybe how are there any players that comes to mind that maybe took a big leap during the offseason?
Well, I think we place such a high importance, Ku'ulei, on summer baseball, and you kind of start with a guy like Itsuki Takemoto, who came in here, much ballyhooed kid, out of Japan, but in a very typical freshman year, a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of growth. He went out to the Cape League and was the Cape Cod League Pitcher of the Year, and that's the best summer league in the country by far. Really made a name for himself. Tremendous ERA, strikeout to walk ratio was really really good. And Ben Ziegler Namoa was on the same team with him in the Cape League for the Orleans Firebirds, and he was a Cape League All Star. So those two guys made a significant jump Guys like Jordan Donahue, Jared Quant, Corey Ronan all played in the MLB Draft League, and really, took a jump to seeing great pitching. And Corey kind of had a breakout summer himself. I think, guys like Shunsuke Sakaino, who's a portal guy from Cal State Northridge, Tate Shimao, who's going to be redshirting this year. They're all stars out in the summer, and then when you get here in the fall with Tommy Heffernan and Josh Elms, our strength and conditioning coaches, who are the top, right? I mean, these guys are just amazing. I've just seen physical growth, with our guys just getting stronger in the weight room, getting more flexible, more powerful. The ballistic, explosiveness is there. So it's all been great. Training, has gone, exceptionally well. There's a focus, there's a confidence with this group. Looking forward to getting this started Monday.
Yeah, and I know, as you mentioned, going to get started on Monday, but it's one of the big positions to fill is the catcher position, and who's going to fill in there behind the dish with replacing Dallas J. Duarte and Austin Machado.
Right.
So maybe if you can give us a little bit of what you're thinking going into starting off the season.
Well, Connor Palmera, and Hunter Faldo, both local boys, Connor from Maui, Hunter from Oahu, have the inside track. David Verhel de Dios is another freshman who really is pushing these guys from Maui. So three local boys behind the plate. Connor, might have the inside track a little bit. He's proven himself at the Division I level. Got hurt last year at Cal State Bakersfield, so he was able to redshirt. But he was on fire, hit in the middle of their lineup. So I think that he's kind of got the inside track. Hunter Faldo had a really good community college career at Pima and has been out in the summer doing really good things. He just needs to play more, So those two guys, they're older and they're going to fill in, great. You can't replace Dallas Duarte. I mean, that guy, he's one of a kind, just special human being and a special player.
And I know it is definitely still early, but the position that a lot of people are always curious about heading in there. What can you share with us about the projected pitching, starters or some type of lineup or anything you can share at all?
Well, there's a great phrase. It's called "all will be revealed." And I love that. I love that phrase. But a couple guys that have really kind of jumped up. Itsuki Takamoto. We're going to put Itsuki in the starting rotation. Sebastian Gonzalez, who was really going well as a freshman, on his way to becoming a freshman All-American. He had a little soreness. We shut him down a little bit early, but I think he's got a tremendous future. We have a kid, a freshman from San Diego, Cooper Walls, turned down some money to be a Rainbow Warrior from the pros. He's got a tremendous future. Had a great fall. But in the bullpen, we've got a guy named Liam O'Brien, who's a transfer from Gonzaga. Who's touching 98 miles an hour, kind of coming into his own, kind of an under the radar guy that's really developed physically as pitchers do sometimes. We've got Zach Ten, local boy, Corey Ronan, who had a really good summer dealing weight. So there's a lot of options, but again, all will be revealed. That's the one area that, there's question marks, but we've always seemed to figure it out. We led the nation in ERA last year, number one. So that's any SEC team, Pac-12, Big 12, the Bows had the best pitching staff in the country.
Yeah, and Itsuke though listed as a utility, but so is that kind of like Shohei Ohtani vibes,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah. The key here is they have the same number, 17, right? So start with that. And but I really like Itsuki as a hitter, and the pro guys. I've had pro guys, call me and want to break him down as a hitter. He ran a 4.1, down to first base, which is a great time for being a big guy. And he's got a tremendous eye at the plate. Does not strike out. Hits left-handers extremely well. The bat, to ball skills are great. The ball really jumps off his bat, and he's going to be in the lineup um, as a hitter as well.
That's definitely, I know he's one of the fan favorites, definitely on this baseball team for sure. As we are joined by Baseball head coach Rich Hill. All right, a couple of things for you when it comes to some of the people on your staff. Actually, is pretty interesting with a bunch of your graduate managers that you have there. You have former baseball players Randy Abshire and Trevor Ichimura, and then you have a former softball player in Dallas Millwood. So, talk to us a little bit about that and how they contribute as former players and also a former softball player, as I mentioned, and now to your staff.
Well, I'll start with Dallas Millwood. She comes from a family. Her father's a legendary coach here, up in Mililani. I think it's Mililani, right?
Yeah.
In football. And, Dallas has worked our camps. And, you can see right away how good she is as an instructor, as a teacher, her personality. And it's just somebody that I wanted, our guys to be around. I think that, every major league staff now, which is phenomenal, has a woman on their staff, and I think that that's great, and anything that I can do personally, to just advocate, and to push forward women in our sport, in any realm, I want to do it, really in any facet of life, just empowering and, just kind of breaking down some barriers. I also think it's very important for our players, to learn, how to treat women. That's why we have a lot of undergraduate managers, not a lot, but, a few always on our staff, as far as operations people, female students, because they need to learn how to treat women, and they need to see women, in roles that are very non-traditional. It's important to me. Randy Abshire, we brought him back as the director of pitching development. Casey Issa does a great job. Trevor Ichimura is our grad assistant. So Chris Jimenez, we brought over to be director of catching development and scouting. Rayson Romero, St. Louis boy, is the director of player development. So we just have such a strong nucleus of support here. It's amazing. And then we've got, hey, my childhood best friend is with us, Lindsey Meggs, right? I wrangled him out of retirement from the UW. He took the Huskies to the Omaha. This guy's the best baseball coach I've ever been around. It's like a clinic every day with our guys here. So we got him over here. We got him set up, and he's going to be here for the season. Dave Nakama, local boy, has just done amazing things with our hitters. You've seen the statistics. And Keith Zuniga, special, just rising star,
Mm-hmm.
really in this profession, leading the country in ERA and recruiting the type of guys, that we're recruiting has really been, amazing. I'm just blessed to work with these guys every day.
I love it. As we are joined by Baseball head coach Rich Hill. All right. We talked about how awesome the season was last year. We do need
Yeah.
to talk a little bit about the adversity, of course. UH finished third in the Big West last season. Ahead of you were UC Santa Barbara at the top and UC Irvine. And you guys got swept by both those teams last season. And it was the only time you guys couldn't take at least one game from any of the series that you played last year. When you look back, what was it that made those squads so tough? And can we expect kind of like that same level of competition and adversity this year as well?
Well, I think, when you're playing a team sport, how you define success and how you define adversity, it's just kind of relative, and success, we define that. I mean, it's all about the controllables, what you can control. It's your effort, your attitude, your enthusiasm, your preparation, So we really refer to excellence, excellence is about the process, because you can control those things. And we just are focused on being as good as we can be, individually and as a team at those controllables every day. Now, when the dust settles, the scoreboard is going to say what it's going to say. So when you're playing an opponent, like UC Santa Barbara or UC Irvine, those two teams are Omaha type of teams, right? That factor comes, the winning and losing part, kind of it can start to wobble, and I think it's important for our guys, to understand that that's how the world works.
Hmm.
You're going to be measured, by your statistics, by your sales numbers, and that's how it goes. It's a beautiful system. What we focus on is how to get to those numbers, So I think it was a very successful season, in terms of the on-field result-oriented stuff. But when you go up against those teams, that's that factor that you just can't control. How good that other team is, how good that pitcher is. When you use the word, can you expect that again? Yes. I mean, the Big West is the best, conference on the West Coast, bar none. The Pac-12 is dissolved, and it absolutely is. So it's a dogfight. All we can really control and all we're really talk about is how good that we're going to be, and we're just obsessed with excellence.
And at least
Not
this
the
time, oh, I was going to say, at least this time you get a postseason. So that's also good too. So you can figure it
yeah,
out there. All right, going to sticking with more of the schedule stuff. It's
yeah.
good to see all of the three local D2 schools on the schedule again. So, yeah, why is it important for you to schedule these games against UH Hilo, Chaminade, and HPU?
Well, I think there's a couple things at work here. Number one is the community. I'm just a steward, of this program, and I get to rent this chair that I'm sitting in, and being the head guy in the dugout. This is Oahu's. uh we got three different teams here, and one on Hilo. So this is about the state of Hawaii and the people of Hawaii and our culture and our passion for baseball, right? And I'm a Cal Lutheran guy, right? So I mean, I played there and I coached there, and so I know the talent level, how good it is. Like Chad and Dane, those guys are like, if people go, oh man, it's easy games. I'm like, dude, I know how good those teams are, and to be able to have Chaminade on TV and Hilo on TV, and HPU on TV, and to give that experience to the players there, and to have those players have the experience of practicing at Les Murakami the night before, especially this year with our new field and everything else. It's what we should be doing to grow the sport of baseball. And I'm just a marketer at heart. And I think that those quality programs and coaches and players deserve that opportunity. We also, get 4 opportunities to play non-D1 schools according to the NCAA, and it's impossible for us to play, Tuesday games. So it's much better to play a non-D1 opponent on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night than it is to inter squad and try to make that as game like as possible. So it's a win-win for everybody. The Big West approved it. Our administration has been great. We fill the stands, so it's just been so positive for everybody.
I love it. All right. Something positive fans and I'm sure the team you guys are looking forward to this season is brand new turf at the Les
Oh
Murakami
man,
Stadium.
yeah.
So how does that look so far? And honestly, I'm trying to think of how the best way to ask this question so it makes the most sense. But from afar, right, the turf that was there, it looks fine, right? It looks like it doesn't need. It looks fine from a fan's perspective. But then when turf is bad, like it's not as noticeable when it's a natural surface. Like when grass is bad, you can see it, right? You can see the dirt, everything get dug up. When turf is bad, it's not as noticeable. So for people, especially like myself, who's never played baseball or softball on turf, can you explain what it is about turf when it starts to get old and how that can impact players and just everything about the game, and then why there was that need to replace it with the new turf?
Well, hey, let's liken this to a bowling alley, right? That's how fast our turf was, because all the turf just gets worn down, 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 right? And it's just so fast. A drive-in movie lot. Do they have drive-in movies? I remember. I'm old enough, right? It's like that boom, 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 boom. So it just becomes very hard. It becomes very worn. The sand and the rubber just really starts to dissipate. And that came in 2009. So you're talking close to 15 years, of the same field, and they replace things from time to time and do the best they can, but there's just some worn out spots, and it was really getting dangerous. We couldn't host, the Japanese All-Stars here on their way. The field was just, it was not, conducive or up to the standards, that they would allow them to play on. We've had several injuries, with bad hops, skinned knees, torn up uniforms, and everything else. So when it was just way past its time. It should be replaced, every few years, like every 5 years, So anyway, thing of the past, and now we've got this beautiful turf. The legislators that were great, in realizing the need for that. David Matlin was really big, a real instrumental in that happening, along with our, batting cage facility. So that's coming next. But the fans really deserve this, to walk into Les. This is a pro park, so to
Mhm.
walk into Les Murakami Stadium on that concourse and to be able to see this beautiful, I mean, technologically advanced AstroTurf field. It's actually Shaw turf, but the mow lines and the patterns, that makes it look like that real grass. And the logos, the big H logo out in center field, and the Hawaii word behind home plate, in the real tribal type of letters. There's different shades of green kind of on the field. I thought that was important to kind of, have this be very indigenous to, like it looks like Hawaii. I drive down my street going home, and like especially in the afternoons, it's like light green, dark green, this sun, it's
Uh-huh.
just like everywhere you go in Hawaii, it's just so cool. So people are going to see that. Um, and they're just going to be blown away, and it's going to be done for our first practice, January 24th.
I love it. I saw some photos and it does look
Man,
amazing. All right,
yeah,
as we are
yeah.
joined by head UH baseball coach Rich Hill, got a couple questions for you as it does deal with facilities. And actually, these got texted in. So some fans that were really curious about the upgrades. You mentioned that there are plans to improve the batting cage. How about any, and I know these are out of your control, but if you can, anything you can share at all, I'm sure this fan will be much appreciated. Just where things are at with the batting cage improvements, the performance facility possibility, maybe from a fan's view, more premium seating plans, and maybe an outfield view deck slash beer garden. So that's some of the questions from the fans there.
I love it. And the fans here are just the best. I always talk about that. I'm just kind of blown away, especially my first year here. Like to hear, "Let's go Bows," just chicken skin and seeing 4,000 people up there in the beer line. Just it's going from. I like to, get that fixed. I don't know if that's the first thing, but uh, sometimes if we're getting our butt kicked or something, I look up there and go, that looks pretty good. And maybe I should be in that line. the, I really can't speak to like some of the seating stuff. Craig Angelis, the former AD, had some visions, with that. I really, brought it to his attention. I said, there's so much room behind home plate. I'd like to kind of extend and get closer to the field down there, like Dodger Stadium does, and have that be premium seating. We can net that thing off, have some waiters, down there bringing some food and drinks and stuff. I think those would go like hotcakes. We get the two venues down the line, the Aloha Deck, and the Heineken Hangout that are great. We've added two more VIP boxes. Season tickets to me are just a steal. If you're a baseball fan, I don't know why everyone just doesn't buy them. You don't have to go to every game, but you can give them away. You get the seats that you want. It's super affordable. So there's a lot of really cool things happening, at Les Murakami Stadium. The performance facility, I don't really want to call it a batting cage because there's going to be a pitching lab in there.
Mm.
And we do so much performance stuff. We brought in guys like Keone Duren,
Hmm.
who bench coach for, not the bench coach, but the hitting coach for the Royals, works with Bobby Wood Jr. every day. Brendan Segara, who is sitting next to Chris Young with the Rangers. He's a local boy here, and hopefully you get those guys on your show. But we brought those guys in as consultants to kind of say, okay, what do we need? How do we get this thing done? What is the space going to look like? So we have all these great ideas, And once we get the new field in and the installation's done, then the next project can kind of get going. So we're just super stoked about the direction of, this whole thing, really.
Ooh, and all right. And like we said, season gets started Friday, February 14th against Marshall. But before that, there is the alumni game on Saturday, February 1st, 1 p.m. at the Les Murakami Stadium. And there's also the For the Love of the Game celebration, of course, Sunday, February 5th, 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Simplify Arena at Stan Sheriff Center. I just saw a post from the social media of baseball. There are still tickets available, but they are going really, really fast. So go to hawaiiathletics.com to grab yours. All right, Coach Rich, I know you got a lot of stuff to do. You're very busy, so I'm gonna let you go. But before that, just want to give you the final word today for our fans listening right now.
Aloha and chee-hoo! Come on. Those are my words, man. I get fired up about rainbow baseball. This place is going to be rocking. You want to be here. The alumni game is great too. Come down and see some of the old rainbow legends, and the for love of the game thing is amazing. That's just a night out, and bringing the family to that thing, and just the energy in the building. You've been there, Ku'ulei.
Mhm.
It's great. Coach Les is there. We have, famous people from all over the island, and it's just, supporting rainbow baseball. And we're just on this trajectory of, really, doing some special things. And there's just a great buzz around the program. So thank you for having me on the show.
Woo.
Huge mahalo.
I'm excited, but yes, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. So thank you so much, Coach, for taking the time to join us.
All right.